This is an extremely sad day for Canadian taxpayers. The Prime Minister is forcing them to fix his failure on Canada's energy sector. It didn't have to be this way. Kinder Morgan was never asking for a handout. All they wanted was a clear path to get this project built, which is what this Prime Minister has failed to do. And now taxpayers on the hook for their mess. Can the Prime Minister give us a guarantee that these costs will exceed no more than $4.5 billion?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the sheer audacity of the member opposite to talk about our absolute...
Order. Order. Members know that we have to be careful and that not do indirectly what we can't do directly, so I would avoid using the word that it equates to a name at the same time and to not use the name of a member. So I'd ask the Minister of Finance to try to avoid that.
Mr. Speaker, the audacity of the member opposite to talk about not getting a pipeline to market, which is what he and his party were unable to do, when we have stepped forward and said that we are going to take the decision to put a project in the national interest forward so that we can create the economic advantage that we're seeking. The economic advantage for Canada with $15 billion of advantage to our economy, 15,000 jobs. We, Mr. Speaker, are moving forward in the national interest for Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, before the 2015 election, pipelines in this country were built without taxpayers' money. They were applied for, they were approved, and they were completed without a cent of taxpayers' dollars. The only thing that has changed between then and now is that we have a Liberal government. Why is it that every time elements of our energy sector gets nationalized is when there's a Trudeau in the Prime Minister's office?
You're not making it easy for me. The same point applies. Members should avoid referring to someone who's currently a member by name. That could certainly be interpreted that way. The Honourable Minister of Finance. Order.
Speaker, let's evaluate what the member opposite just said. In the decade before 2015, not one pipeline was built to Tidewater. We know this as a fact. We are moving, Mr. Speaker, forward with a project that is going to ensure that we create an advantage for Canadians, an economic advantage that goes along with our overall plan to assure that the environment and the economy go hand in hand. This is in our national interest. It's creating jobs in Alberta, in British Columbia, and across our country.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, let's talk about where the advantage on this deal is going, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister is now cutting a check of taxpayers' money, $4.5 billion, going to shareholders in a Texas-based company. Now, this is in addition to the hundreds of billions of dollars that have already left Canada's energy sector. So, the Prime Minister claims he wants to attract investment into Canada. How much of the $4.5 billion that's being sent to Kinder Morgan will be spent and invested in Canada?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, with no business experience, I understand the member opposite might not understand what we're talking about. We're talking about a $4.5 billion investment in the assets of Kinder Morgan, creating long-term value for our country, because we know that's the right thing to do for our country.
For Calgary Signal Hill will please come to order. Order. Members will note that it's possible without breaking the strict rules, to say things that cause disorder, and I would ask members to be cautious from what they say in order to try to avoid creating disorder. The Honourable Minister of Finance has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, we are making an investment in Canada's future. We know that investing a fair amount of money into the assets of the Trans Mountain Pipeline and the expansion will create economic advantage to our country. We're creating jobs, 9,000 jobs in British Columbia, jobs across the country that are going to make a real difference for Canadian families. At the same time, we're adding up to $15 billion to our economy annually. We know this is important for our country.